All right. Welcome to our newly branded podcast. If you're listening to us on the podcast itself is called Developing Leaders Gather Here. Formerly known as the Empower to Success, we've decided to focus on a more specific and important goal here recently to develop leaders in all areas of life. So whether you are an entrepreneur, a student, a professional, this podcast is designed to help you become a better leader and to help you grow your leadership skills. Each episode will be able to bring you experts insights, interviews, stories from successful leaders from all walks of life. We'll cover a wide range of topics from personal development to team building to communication and more. So if you're looking to enhance your leadership skills and connect with like-minded individuals who are committed to personal and professional growth, then you've come to the right place. Join us on this journey of developing leaders, and let's gather here to empower each other to achieve our goals. So that is our little intro to our podcast. Again, going through and doing a rebranding. If you've followed us, our podcast in the past, it was called Empower to Success. If you're a subscriber, thank you. I know we've been silent for a while, and it's been good. We've continued to on our growth journey, and it's been a journey embarking and wanting to work on our personal development and get some tools in front of ourselves to figure out how we can impact and how we can help grow one another. So again, the name of the podcast is Developing Leaders Gather Here. So as I've learned in my leadership journey thus far is there is no end to the journey of a leader. You're continuously developing. I don't care what your title is. I don't care what level of a leader you are, an executive, a senior executive, you mention it, whatever your title and your credentials are after your name, there's always, always, always room for improvement. There's always room for developing. That's why this podcast, again, and this platform that we're introducing to, so if you're listening to us on YouTube, on our podcast, Developing Leaders Gather Here, the idea is to present folks that are maybe a little further on the journey of leadership, folks that are embarking on the journey of leadership, folks that have had a successful leadership journey, to bring them together here so that we can all learn from one another. So again, through the various episodes coming up here, the idea is to bring folks to get some collaboration. And if you want to be part of the group that we're on here, you can join us on LinkedIn. Our LinkedIn group is called Developing Leaders Gather Here. If YouTube is your platform, you can check us out there as well under Developing Leaders Gather Here as well. And the podcast, as you would guess it by now, Developing Leaders Gather Here. So the idea here is to introduce us to the upcoming 52 weeks. So I've chosen 52 topics, so a topic a week or so, to present to the listeners and to various guests that we'll be having here on the podcast. But the idea is to talk about leadership development. And as I'm hosting this event or this podcast, if you will, the idea is to take some actionable items, right? Not just find out topics, but as we work on this leadership, as we work on improving ourselves as leaders, to be able to take some actionable takeaways, take topics for 52 weeks that we can not only learn and add to our toolbox, but most importantly to apply, right? Because again, you can have all the knowledge in the world, you can take all the classes in the world, you can take all these certificates in the world. If you are not applying that, if you're not putting that to action, again, your growth journey won't be as successful, right? Because knowledge without action, in my experience, is simply not beneficial, right? So to have some knowledge, you need to be able to apply what you learn, and through that application process is where this learn, grow, influence piece comes in, to where you're learning, you're applying, you're growing, and those around you will see the growth, and then you never know who you'll be able to influence because of who you're becoming and what information you're bringing to people. So jumping in here, the first topic, again, today's session here is a trial and run here, just getting the technology to work with us. But again, I wanted to quickly reintroduce the podcast itself, formerly known as Empower to Success, now Developing Leaders Gather Here. And you can, again, check us out on any platform, wherever you listen to your podcast. We're on YouTube. Our channel, again, LGI Develop Lead, Developing Leaders Gather Here. Group on LinkedIn here as well, that we have recently activated, where you can find us in there also. So multiple ways to connect with us. But on our next episode, again, as we're completing our introduction here, our next episode, our first topic is going to be the importance of self-awareness in leadership. Again, the importance of self-awareness in leadership. So we will go live on this event again next Saturday. I'll be posting on LinkedIn when this will come place. So it'll be an audio event on LinkedIn. You can follow us on our podcast or on YouTube. But very, very interesting in understanding, or if you want to join, be interesting to get your perspective on the importance of self-awareness in leadership. And I started with that topic itself because, as my mentor, John Maxwell, had the opportunity to get a certification from the Maxwell leadership team back in 2019 in Orlando, Florida. And at that time, I had about 15 years of what I would have considered myself as a leader, right? So I had some leadership experience. I had a title that came along with it, right? I was a director of operations at the job that I was at the time. So I had the title, and what else would I need, right? I'm a leader. And then I had the opportunity to attend the John Maxwell certification down in Orlando. It was a 3-day event with John Maxwell and some great speakers and great people in there, and got certified. And it was a humbling experience, because what I remember taking away from that session was the person that you will struggle the most to lead. Okay, so the most difficult person that you'll be leading in your life is yourself. So I specifically and intentionally chose the topic, our next topic, to be self-awareness in leadership, right? The hardest person that you will ever lead as a leader is your own self. So you might sit there and say, okay, this podcast might not be for me, this audio event might not be for me, but in reality, it is not about who this is, right? You might not have a title, you might not have whatever you consider to be called a leader, but in reality, for us to accomplish anything, we first must lead ourselves. And to lead ourselves, we need to be able to create some sort of self-awareness to say, where is it that I stand? And some of the things we'll talk a little bit about on our next session here is things such as the SWOT analysis, right? Understanding what your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats are, personality tests, being able to seek some feedback from colleagues and so forth, right? To understand what areas do I perform well and what areas do I need to grow. And then once we have a good understanding of this self-awareness, can we start talking a little bit about leading others? So before we think about leading others, we must first lead ourselves. And we don't lead ourselves at the end of the quarter. We don't lead ourselves at the end of the year. We don't lead ourselves at the beginning of a project. The challenge with leading ourselves is that we got to show up every day. Every single day as a leader, you have to lead yourself daily, right? Through disciplines, through whatever it might be. So that is the beauty of what we're going to be chatting about here. And by no means am I an expert at this. The sole purpose and the sole intent of this group is to, again, bring folks that want to raise their hands and said, hey, I'm a titleless leader. I'm a leader to where, regardless of what my title is, was, will be, I can always work on developing myself. I can always work a little more on making myself better, right? So this platform, whether the podcast, the YouTube, the LinkedIn group, Developing Leaders Gather Here, it is my intent and my hope and my goal to be able to serve that platform, and where folks can come in and through synergy to be able to bring in ideas, challenge one another, bring in things that will always push us to continue to develop ourselves as leaders, because as we develop ourselves first, then we can start developing others. It is hard to pour onto others from an empty cup. So first we must fill our cups before we're able to pour into others. So again, going back to the Maxwell certification, the hardest person that you'll ever lead is yourself. So our next topic, if trust that you'll be able to join us on our next podcast here and give us some feedback. I'm very excited about the Anchor podcast. That's where I host my podcast through, but some great features since I've been gone for a little while now. You can do video, there's interaction, there's questions, there's polls. So excited to get that into play. If you're catching this episode here on the LinkedIn group, Developing Leaders Gather Here, share it with someone that you feel that might be able to add some value to this group. And again, suggest that you follow us on our YouTube channel as well, if that's your platform. So again, 52 weeks, 52 topics coming with the sole purpose and the sole idea of developing ourselves as leaders and honing in to the idea of developing leaders gather here. So if you yourself are a developing leader, if you know someone that wants to develop as a leader, please share this information with them. Let's bring them up to this platform and let's continue to learn, grow, and influence together. Next topic coming up on our next episode is going to be the importance of self-awareness in leadership. The importance of self-awareness in leadership. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Again, this was Denis Chela coming up here live on the LinkedIn platform, audio events, on the podcast at Developing Leaders Gather Here. And you can also check us out on our YouTube platform at Developing Leaders Gather Here. Hope you have a great weekend and you're ready for a great start to the upcoming week. Denis Chela, until the next episode, take care.